Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Melanin Reset Podcast. I am your host, Valarie Winn, and in this episode, I am still talking about being Black in America. We are still surviving and striving. Last week, I touched on the topic of do you know who you are? How we got from Negro to African American. I just went on ahead and went back and touched on all of that. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, go check it out. And this week proved why we need to be confident in knowing who we are. To be Black in America is dangerous, but it is lit, and there isn't any other race that I would rather be. I told y'all I identify as an African American, a Black African American woman. And when I tell you that this week shook the bedrock foundation of white supremacy, it truly was one for the history books. I'm talking about the Supreme Court of the United States Confirmation Hearings for none other than the Honorable Ketanji Brown Jackson. She brought it. She brought it, and I am proud of her. We should all be proud of her. Because, child, when I tell you that our sister had to go through it, and that we had to have her back in prayer, in light, in love, and in presence. We had 100 lawyers on the steps out there in Washington, D.C. We had people in the gallery in Washington, D.C. She had the support that she needed to get through this confirmation hearings. She also had the support of all of us who were able to sit down and bear witness to what was going on in those confirmation hearings. Now, me, myself, I watched C-SPAN because I didn't want anybody else's opinion. I wanted to form my own opinion. And when I tell you that the attacks came mighty and the attacks came strong, they came. They came. How dare this Black African American woman be nominated to the highest court in the land of the United States of America? How dare she be nominated to the United States Supreme Court? Child, when I tell y'all that the hoods came off, the sheets came off, trust me, they did. When I tell you that sitting U.S. senators put on a show of jackassery in the performance of their careers, they did. It was political theater in there like I've never seen before. They showed their pale white asses to the American people on national television for the world to see, to try in some way, shape, or form to discredit this Supreme Court nominee who happens to be a Black African American woman. She's qualified. Hell, she's more qualified than anybody else sitting on the Supreme Court. But she is qualified and she's ready. She is ready. She has the experience. She has the education. She has the temperament. She is ready. But how dare she sit at a desk placed in the center of the United States Senate chamber to be interviewed by 22 sitting U.S. senators, 11 Democrats and 11 Republicans. Now, the Democrats didn't give her a problem. They showed support for her because she was nominated by a Democratic president, Mr. Joe Biden. Okay. But some of these folks, how dare she sit at a desk placed in the middle of the United States Senate chamber amongst 22 sitting U.S. senators to answer questions because Joe Biden nominated her. He nominated her because he knew without a shadow of doubt that she could do the job. She can do the job. You know how? We know because she's been doing the job. But how dare she sit up there with all her black excellence beaming so high that they couldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole, even if they tried. But did they try? How dare she sit up there with an African name, which, by the way, means lovely one? How dare she sit up there with her ethnic sister locks and her beautiful melanated skin to interview for a job that the founders of this country never intended for her to have? How dare she sit up there and take a job that was solely intended by the founders to be for a white male with land? How dare she? How dare she? How dare she? And that's how some of the attacks came. How dare she? Well, I'll tell you how dare she. I'll tell you how. Because she is Ketanji Brown Jackson. Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's how. Her credentials speak for themselves. And in case you haven't seen them, let me check them out. Let me pull them up right quick. I should have had this ready. But give me a second. Give me 1 second. Excuse me. How dare this black woman come and sit up in here thinking she getting ready to get placed on the Supreme Court. She's not getting my vote. How dare she come up in here thinking that she can do all this? How dare she? She can do it because she can do it. She's Ketanji Brown Jackson, extraordinaire. Her record. Here we go. As far as her education, public high school education, because she checked all these boxes when compared to all the other justices that are sitting on the court. Ketanji, public high school education, Ivy League law school education. Her career, Supreme Court clerking, public defender, sentencing commission, district judge, and Court of Appeals judge. She checked all the boxes. Okay? It went to show just how, well, no need to get in that. Y'all can look at the chart for yourselves. You can look at the chart for yourselves. But look at ACB. Look at ACB. But she qualified. She should be on the Supreme Court. Okay. All right. But Ketanji Brown Jackson's record speak for itself. Okay? That's her record. Anything else you need to know about her, you should Google her. And pay attention to the truthful information that is out there about her. Not the lies that were told by the Republicans and set up by the Republicans for talking points, for gotcha moments, and for campaign ads. Not the lies that the Republicans told for their base, their QAnon conspiracy theories, and their Trumpism toddlers. Not those lies. not the lies of the conservative right. Okay? The American Bar Association. The American Bar Association. Every lawyer got to go through them. The American Bar Association said she was well qualified. And they came and spoke as witnesses on Thursday. They interviewed over 250 judges and lawyers, and all of them said the same thing: how brilliant she was, how fair and imbalanced she was, how she was a stickler for the law, how she was by the book. To me, it don't get no better than that. But those good old white boys and one good old gal was shook in that confirmation hearing. And their constituents, I dare to say, are shook as well, that a black woman of her caliber even exists. But can I tell y'all a secret? We are rising, we exist, and we're magical. And it's time for them to get into it. But the question has to be asked of black people after seeing this extremely qualified black woman be judged by those who are mediocre in comparison to her. Is the theory of being twice as good as them to get half as far, a half of what they have, is that theory a myth? Because if you grew up in a black household, you heard that. And every time one of those senators came at her for a soundbite to score political points with their base, or like Ted Cruz, to see if they had any new likes on Twitter, because he's sitting up there in the chambers, they got a shot of him. He on Twitter, enlarging it to see how many followers he have or if he's been mentioned. So every time one of those senators came at her, I was reminded of a scene from the ABC show Scandal. I used to watch Scandal, and Olivia Pope and Papa Pope. Olivia Pope was the fixer. She was smart. She was intelligent. She was black, and she was powerful. And when she spoke, people listened. But every time one of those Republican senators questioned Judge Jackson, I was reminded of a scene from the show Scandal. And for all my people who used to watch Scandal, remember the scene when Papa Pope was on Olivia's ass about being twice as good? What did I teach you? Now, that came after some stuff had happened, and I guess she didn't pass his test, but she answered twice as good. Twice as good. He said, I told you, you have to be twice as good to get half of what they have.
Did I not raise you for better? How many times have I told you you have to be what? You have to be what?
Twice.
What?
Twice as good.
Twice as good as them to get half of what they have.
Y'all remember that scene? Y'all remember that? So if you come from a black household in the United States of America, we know all too well, especially if you were or if you are a baby boomer or a Gen Xer, you've heard this theory, twice as good. You've been told you got to be twice as good. You got to behave a certain way. You can't let them see you sweat. Don't let them break you. Is this theory a myth? Twice as good. This was instilled in us, and we carried it. And we watched Ketanji Brown Jackson carry it for the first 3 days of her confirmation hearing. The opening date was Monday. She wasn't allowed to respond to any of the accusations that the Republican senators had during their opening remarks. But her opening remarks was powerful on its face. Nevertheless, here come the Republican senators trying her, knowing that on the first day she wouldn't be able to respond. But if you were paying close attention, the Republicans were setting their strategies and their snares in place. They were setting up their gotcha moments. But guess what? She never fell for any of it. But that didn't stop them. As a matter of fact, one of the Republican junior senators, Josh Hawley from Missouri, had already started priming his base, who are primarily QAnon conspiracy theories and January 6th insurrectionists. He had already started priming his base with his wild claims that Judge Jackson was soft on child sexual abusers in child pornography cases, to cast her in a deviant manner. That's what he went to for his supporters. Somebody say racial overtone. Come on now. So he decided to touch on child pornography cases to convince his base somehow that she is soft on those offenders. Let me tell you something. She sent every last one of them to jail within the scope of what she could do as a judge. And let's not forget about butthurt Lindsey Graham, the Republican senator from South Carolina, who decided to berate her about something she had no knowledge about, that had to do with one of the other candidates for the Supreme Court, Michelle Childs. She was from South Carolina. She was a Democrat as well. In Democrat standing. She was a liberal judge. Let me say it like that. And that's who Lindsey claimed he was pining for to be nominated. So he berated her about that. He decided he would attempt to try to somehow connect Judge Jackson to dark money groups based on some commercials was shown in South Carolina to take Michelle Childs out of the running. He tried it. So he tried to connect her to these dark money groups. So I guess Lindsey said to himself, damn her qualifications. Damn her stellar reputation. Because in his mind, outside or dark money got her here. And that's a lie. But Lindsey would think that. Lindsey would think that, because we know all too well when Lindsey was on Fox News crying about not having money for his campaign, that Jamie Harrison was outdoing him in the fundraising, getting all kind of money, and it was looking like Jamie Harrison was going to win the campaign. Then all of a sudden, Lindsey got an insurgence of money and he was able to win that campaign. I say to this day, they should have investigated that race. But nevertheless, make no mistake about it, Ketanji Brown Jackson is extremely qualified and got to where she is based on her hard work and her stellar reputation. Then there was the likes of Ted Cruz. Ted Cancun Cruz, the junior senator from my home state of Texas. Ted, who decided to go to Cancun while we was freezing during the winter storm of 2021, February 2021. I will never forget that. Never forget that. But anyway, Ted Cruz was on full jackass display the entire hearing. He just was on jackassery, period. Ted Cruz started out by suggesting that the Supreme Court functioned like it was supposed to. It functioned fine up until the 1960s and 70s. Do y'all know why he said that? And what happened during that time? Thurgood Marshall. If you don't know who Thurgood Marshall is, Thurgood Marshall was the first black man ever appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I thought to myself when he said that, I said, this jackass here, the folks in this state who voted for him ought to be embarrassed. But they not. They revel in his jackassery. And it's awful that people who live in this state voted for him. But we know, as Texans who walk among us. Also, on opening day, the Republicans assured Ketanji Brown Jackson they would treat her with the utmost respect. They wasn't going to treat her like the Democrats had treated Brett Kavanaugh. Remember, Mr. I like beer. I like beer. Don't you like beer, Senator Kobach? He made an ass of himself in his confirmation hearings. And guess what? He's sitting on that court. He's sitting on the Supreme Court. And he's not as nearly qualified as Ketanji Brown Jackson. So, the mediocrity of white males. Speaking of which, Tom Cotton, the junior Republican senator from Arkansas, he decided he would bring up a drug kingpin case that Judge Jackson had presided over. He also decided he would try to make her look like she was lenient on him, like she gave him a get out of jail free card. He twisted her words around. He wouldn't let her answer the questions. Same old. They all basically did the same thing. Asked her something, when she started to explain, cut her off. Senator Dick Durbin, he finally said, he's the chairman over the Judiciary Committee. He finally said, hey, don't answer no more questions when Cruz was doing it. Then, like I said, Ted Cruz was on full jackass display. Well, Senator. I mean, yelling, acting crazy. It was a farce. But anyway, back to Cotton. Yeah, he twisted every word she said, but he did that in order to mislead and gaslight who? His constituents. And anybody in America that was hell-bent on finding fault with this judge with a stellar record and reputation. This woman did everything right. Everything right. Then there was Foghorn Leghorn from the great state of Louisiana, Republican Senator John Kennedy. When I say this man is an imbecile, that's a compliment. That's a compliment. He used to be a Democrat without a Southern accent. He didn't have that accent. When he switched parties in 2007, here comes the accent. So that let me know right then and there, he's a phony and a fraud. Nevertheless, he's one of the greatest political theater performers I've ever seen. And he from the great state of Louisiana. But he's being challenged by Gary Chambers, black dude, for his Senate seat. And let me tell y'all, if y'all don't know about Gary Chambers went viral a while back because he got on Connie's ass at the school board. Connie was shopping online at the school board and he called her out. Then he had a history lesson for all the people that were sitting on the school board, all the school board members. But look him up. He will make a great state senator because he cares about the state of Louisiana, unlike Senator John Kennedy, who is a clown. Anyway. Then the last Republican I have to talk about is this Lord, I don't even know this woman. I'm just gonna say this woman named Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. The idiocy of this woman is beyond me. It's astounding. But keep in mind, she was voted in by people who think like her. This woman, with all her racial overtones and smiling and trying to make nice, came at Ketanji Brown Jackson with parental rights first. Want to know how she felt about those in relation to the transgender community. So right then and there, she's showing her transphobia. Okay. Then she brought up critical race theory and the 1960 Project. Racist. Then she implied that Judge Jackson protects convicts and is lenient on child porn defendants. This judge is fair and balanced. She has a method that she used to make sure that she's fair and balanced. Okay? See, justice ain't peaking with Ketanji Brown Jackson. I'm saying the justice, on the scales of justice, she got the blindfold on, and every now and then she lift the blindfold up to peek. With this judge, Ketanji Brown Jackson, that don't happen. She is by the book. Then in the same breath of this woman accusing Judge Jackson of being too lenient, she turned around and said that Ketanji Brown Jackson is the American dream fulfilled. Now that is true. She is a dream and our star sitting up there. Because she sat up there. So listen, I'm here to tell you that the twice as good theory, to me, what I witnessed this week, is a myth. It doesn't matter how far you go with some people. To them, you will never be enough. To them, you'll never be enough. That's why you have to know yourself. That's why you have to know who you are. And that's why you have to walk in your confidence of knowing that you know. Because if not, they'll do things to try to make you doubt yourself. But that's their problem, not yours. As long as you believe in yourself, that's all that matters. And you will soar. You will continue to rise. So understand, we are rising. We are rising. And with Ketanji Brown Jackson, we are rising to the highest court in the land. And she will make us proud. Because she understands the shoulders that she's standing on. Unlike the other one sitting up there, Clarence Thomas. I told y'all a few podcasts back, all skin folk and kinfolk, and he is one of these people. Y'all do realize he's in the news. He was in the hospital. But he's in the news because his wife was at the January 6th insurrection. Okay, that's a conflict of interest off the bat. And he should resign to save face, but he's not going to do that because he's arrogant. We saw that with the Anita Hill thing going on at his situation, at his confirmation hearings. Okay, but we are rising. And Clarence Thomas has failed black people in every regard. But now we got somebody. Ketanji Brown Jackson record speaks for itself. And no one but idiots and the ignorant would argue with her record, her credentials, and her demeanor. She is amazing. Her reputation precedes her. She just simply amazing. And it's like one of my younger adults said. When I say my younger adults, I like to talk to young people all the time. But this one has a special place in my heart. And I love her because Kayla has just sailed. She just soars and she sails. She'll sail. She accomplished her goals. And I'm proud of her. But it was something that Kayla said about Ketanji Brown Jackson that summed it up for me. Kayla put it this way. She said, Ketanji Brown Jackson is my queen. It just hits different than with Kamala, which was inspiring enough for my political aspirations, but a dark-skinned black woman with locks being nominated to the Supreme Court is everything to me. She went on to say, my dreams have never felt more real and attainable. Those barriers, they don't go away. But to know it is truly possible to see our ancestors' wildest dreams in action is something truly special. Those words from Kayla resonated with me. Let me tell you this. Ketanji Brown Jackson sat in the midst of the mediocre, the viciousness, the jackassery of Republican senators with poise, substance, dignity, grace, and truth, so that the Kaylas of the world, our young black little sisters, will no longer have to. She will be confirmed. Her reputation, her representation matters. She will be confirmed. And with that being said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, and click the tiny bell to be notified when new episodes are dropped. The visual podcast is on YouTube, and you can find the audio version of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart, and other podcast platforms. Thank you for joining me. It is always a pleasure. And this has been your realest homegirl, Valarie Winn, and I will talk to you all on the next Melanin Reset podcast. Peace, love, and light. We are rising, and we got this. I'll talk to y'all next time.
You did not get there because of some left-wing agenda. You didn't get here because of some dark money groups. You got here how every black woman in America who's gotten anywhere has done. by being like Ginger Rogers said, I did everything Fred Astaire did, but backwards in heels. And so I'm just sitting here saying, nobody's stealing my joy. Nobody's going to make me angry. You have earned this spot. You are worthy. You are a great American.